another promise of developmental projects in local areas in Cameroon made this time around to the people of Nguti subdivision in the Kupe Manenguba of the southwest region of Cameroon. They have been told that there will be an eventual tarring of the stretch of road linking Nguti to Tombe and also to Bangem headquarters of the Kupe Manenguba division. Also, farm to market roads will be worked upon. The promise was made by our elite of the division, as we shall be telling you in this edition of the news, that it is not the first time that they are receiving a similar promise. It is coming at a time when major stretches in the southwest region of Cameroon are begging for construction work. A case in point is the road taking from Kumba Chieftown of the Meme division, Trumbonge subdivision in the Meme, or to Mundemba in the Indian division of the southwest region of Cameroon. How are these promises going to be fulfilled this time around? Is a question which I will be trying to answer in the course of this edition of the newscast. Attack on men and women of the press again, a journalist is being threatened in the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé. It is coming at a time when the Committee to Protect Journalists, the CPJ, thinks that journalists are just in danger in Cameroon and Africa. First time they are expressing disappointment over the devastating state of major roads linking villages and markets to farms in Nguti subdivision, but also in the Kupe Manenguba division of the southwest region of Cameroon, after several cries and concerns raised by locals. A promise has been made by the government of Cameroon through an elite of the Kupe Manenguba division, Elu Pocher, who told the people of Nguti that an eventual construction project will come to see major farm to market roads constructed, and that in Nguti subdivision and also the stretches of road linking the three subdivisions that make up the Kupe Manenguba, notably Bangem, Tombel and Nguti, worked upon. It is just a promise. Immaculate Fogel takes us into the following report on just how people have been suffering in this division, which is said to be a breadbasket to most areas in Cameroon.
The efforts of farmers in Nguti subdivision to push away poverty and lift themselves above subsistence levels are limited by the poor state of farm-to-market roads. After a few days of heavy rainfall, several communities are almost impassable as mud invades major stretches. Persons plying farm-to-market roads are obliged to apply extra skills in order to move across the troubled waters. Despite being an agricultural herb, several farmers are obliged to grow only what they can consume, given that most of their crops rot in farms. The news of the construction of the Bangem Nguti Road was received with lots of joy, as locals say it will go a long way in boosting the development of both localities and Kupe Manenguba division as a whole.
The population of Nguti subdivision had to pass through Meme division, Fako division, Littoral region, and specifically through Mongo division to come to the seat of the division, Bangem. You can't imagine, for administrative purposes, the rehabilitation of the road Bangem to Nguti. This is a very, very, very great, because this road comes to relieve us from a very huge burden. Economically, this road will come in to boost agricultural activities.
Nguti is not connected to Bangem, the divisional head town. So I just came to inform the people that the President of the Republic has approved the construction of the Bangem Nguti Road. So unanimously, we as elite, along with our chiefs, we've taken the opportunity to express our thanks.
Despite the good news, the population say an end to the Anglophone crisis will better ease the development process.
So we hammered more on the aspect of peace, and we call on all our chiefs, our collaborators, or our peers who are chiefs, to make sure that peace reigns in our respective divisions.
The elites are hoping that the road project will not be abandoned like many other projects in the southwest region.
And it is coming at a time when many are finding it difficult to understand why Buea and Limbe continue to have a water crisis, whereas they are being placed or geographically positioned at the feet of Mount Cameroon, an important watershed in Cameroon. It took inhabitants of Quarter 2 in Limbe 1 subdivision, or call it Mafani Quarter in Limbe 1 subdivision, protesting and threatening to take their protest demonstration to the divisional office in Limbe 1 subdivision. But for the intervention of the quarter head, the women were angry that an individual has a construction plans to build on the lone watershed that gives water a strategic liquid for life to inhabitants of Limbe 3. They, however, say that it is in gross violation to an injunction placed by the divisional officer for Limbe 1, with report from the traditional ruler of the area. Davison Maimo in the following report.
The timely intervention of the quarter head, John Ngale, stopped the angry women of Mafani quarters from marching to the Limbe 1 DO's office.
It took me a surprise here because my people here, I know that they always hint me when there's something going on. But I've just, as they called me that there's a situation here, that's why I rushed here. So I've just seek that my people should be calm because it is important for them to be calm. They should not bother because the administration is aware.
The women say some individuals want to adulterate their only source of the precious liquid by constructing closer to the water catchment.
Somebody wants to destroy this water. This is our natural source. There's a man there who is struggling to build. And building and putting stock away will destroy the water. That's why we'll destroy the natural source that God has given us. So that's why we are decrying it. We want to put an end to it, that it will not work. So we are crying and handing the problem to the administration to take control.
The water was very cold and deep, but now we are seeing that the water is now shallow because they are building and pushing the water. Houses are even built on top of the water. If you go side down there, you will not even see the water. The water used to be very large.
According to the quarter head, the divisional office of Limbe 1 subdivision, with report from the paramount chief of Limbe, has placed an injunction order at the site.
The DO has already passed an injunction order at the moment as I'm talking to you like this.
He added there are plans to harness the water source by the Limbe 1 Council.
They have already given us a package here for next year, 2023-2024, to build this catchment.
Buildings constructed close to the water catchment, sources say, in accordance with the law, shall be destroyed by the Limbe City Council in the days ahead.
Mamo reporting for and the situation of journalists and their safety and security practicing in Cameroon and sub-Saharan Africa especially remains disturbing to the Committee to Protect Journalists, the CPJ. The CPJ thinks that journalists working in most of this country face enormous challenges with threats on their lives by individuals at most time attacking them because of their practices. A senior official of the CPJ was speaking to Babla Jonathan on Talking Points in one of the editions and indicates just how disturbing reports they have received from the situation of journalists from Africa. Take a listen to her in the following extract.
You are a journalist in Cameroon, you are under threat. You can disappear in the system as Samuel Wazizi did, and that it took 10 months before the government was prepared to say that he had died in custody, just shows the level that journalists do face in terms of their own safety, their own security, and in fact the fact that the government and its agencies obviously do not protect the press. Having said that, I think that it's also important to raise the fact that I heard what the minister had to say. He had a glowing overview of what he thought press freedom was in Cameroon, but our research and our data shows a totally different picture. You know, for many years, Cameroon has been the worst jailer of journalists in Africa. This year, in terms of our last prison census of December the 1st, we did see that Cameroon dropped below Rwanda, but the fact remains that it is still the 4th worst jailer of journalists in Cameroon, and it is our hope and it is our continued call that the government of Cameroon will release the current journalists who are still in jail in Kondengui Central. There are at least 5 of them who remain in arbitrary detention, who are in jail because of their journalism, and we urge the government to free these journalists.
Angela also spoke on the case of detained Cameroonian journalist Kingsley Njoka as received by the CPG. Remember that he was taken from the nation's economic capital city, Douala, and taken directly to Yaoundé, where he is being held incommunicado, a situation disturbing to the CPG.
Kingsley Njoka, who has been in arbitrary detention for almost 2 years. The government did claim to the United Nations that he is being held on anti-state charges. But the fact remains that there is such a thing in terms of international law as a right to a free trial and a right to a speedy trial. The fact that the government continues to keep Kingsley in jail and that they have yet to prosecute him or ensure that he has a proper trial just points to the fact that this is an arbitrary detention, which the United Nations itself believes is an arbitrary detention. If the government had a case against him, we should have had and heard the case a long time ago. You cannot have a situation where a journalist is detained for 2 years without trial, that there is no attempt to tell the public what the charges are against him and to actually have him tried in a competent court of law. Not a kangaroo court, a competent court of law. When you don't even do that, when prosecutors are unable to actually mount a case, how can we possibly say that the government has any reason to want to jail journalists? I think at the end of the day, Kingsley's jailing, as far as I can see, is simply arbitrary in nature. And for whatever reason, the government appears to have got away with it, as it has with the other jailing of journalists, by using vague anti-state charges to effectively shut down criticism and dissent, and the fact that, journalists are there to shed a light on what is happening. And where government errs, it is a journalist's right and the public's right to have that sort of information, to have that sort of access to information. So by silencing journalists, by jailing them, all the government is doing is that it is shutting down the space for criticism and dissent, and importantly, for the public's right to know, to have critical information that is important for their decision making.
And the prefect from Fundi, that in the central region of Cameroon, was at the Mokolo market for the Fundi division, visited the market after the improvised explosive device recorded in that market that left several traders wounded, the last two within 2 weeks in Yaoundé. While in the market and talking to traders of the market, he called on them to be responsible and report every suspected activity to competent officials. He said that the government understands the importance of their activity and will not want to take stringent measures, even though it is important for the government to protect the security of people within Yaoundé, the market, and the rest of the subdivision. The senior divisional officer Emmanuel Marie Njiteng also gave an opportunity to the traders of the market to express their worries which he said were all understood and will be channeled to key officials in Cameroon. It should be recalled that he visited the market for the first time after the explosion that left several persons wounded in that market. It wasn't the first, however, in the Mokolo market. We stay in Yaoundé, Cameroon, the nation's political capital city, to say that members of the subcommittee for the evaluation of ethics are met. That is, they met today, and those of the Ministry of Higher Education and under the subcommittee for evaluations and ethics, who met today in Yaoundé prior to the 28th National Commission for Private Higher Education in Cameroon. They brainstorm on just how to effectively implement the mantra given to private higher educational establishments establishment by the government of Cameroon through the Ministry of Higher Education. It was also an occasion or an opportunity for them to evaluate the successes so far made by actors of this sector as far as their contribution to the standards of learning in Cameroon in that sector is concerned, and just how actors of the National Commission complementing the mantra and order of excellence and quality outlined by the government of Cameroon through the Ministry of Higher Education is a question we placed to Mr. Awa Kan Emmanuel and Mbalan Collins of Obish in Yaoundé.
We don't only want to make Cameroon a better place, we must start training job providers and not job seekers. In the instruction from the Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Public Health, we are not supposed to use clinics that are clandestine because they expect results. And for that reason, we present to them our authorization. Because one of the criteria that the renowned hospitals take before taking a hospital in partnership for training or for doing practicals is authorization by the Minister of Higher Education.
We have been able to extend that hand of fellowship to internally displaced students. You know, in the medical field, it is a very, very exorbitant field where fees are very, very voluminous.
And following the presidential decree, we are still in higher education, and to talk a related story, even after the meeting today in Yaoundé, to say that following the presidential decree of June the 3rd, 2022, the new chairpersons and board chairs and rectors of some free state universities in Cameroon will be installed or commissioned by Cameroon's Minister of Higher Education, Minister of State, Minister Jacques Famendongo, according to the communique signed by Ministry in Cameroon, that's the Ministry of Higher Education. They will be installed from the 21st of July to August the 4th, 2022. The ceremony will be presided out, as I indicated, by the Minister of Higher Education, Jacques Famendongo, and the universities concerned. The University of Garoua for July 21st, 2022 at 11 a.m. The University of Beto on August the 2nd, 2022 at 11 a.m. And finally, the University of Bolova in the south region of Cameroon on August the 4th, 2022 at 11 a.m. Three latest universities created by the government of Cameroon. And now we take on something else, measures put in place by the government of Cameroon with regards to screening persons coming into and leaving Cameroon of COVID-19. The measures the government says it is being implemented within the introduction of a system that is being used to screen passengers or travelers to and out of Cameroon at the airport in Yaoundé and the city of Douala. Lucy Liongo has more in the following report.
In order to curb the prevalence of the COVID-19 pandemic, incoming just like outgoing travelers must be registered on the Mama Pro platform.
Mama Pro is the website to the registration for the passenger, for the entrance passenger and the passenger who go out.
A new measure taken by the Minister of Health. Most passengers are yet to be current while others are.
The new measure of COVID-19, I'm aware about it. It's functioned well. We register online, you pay the money online, Mama Pro. After that, you go to Faculty of Science in Boya, UB Lab, and you make a test there.
This comes as a result of the resurgence of COVID-19 cases in the country. The measure, according to the minister, goes operational from the 18th of July.
And non-commissioned student officers and soldiers have pledged to defend Cameroon and the national colors as well as the territorial boundaries of Cameroon with their lives while in service. They took the oath during the swearing-in ceremony in Kota Badat in the known division of the West region of Cameroon at the end of their training exercise. We have details with Equinoxe.
Commissioned student officers and soldiers being sworn in before Major General P. Philippe, commander of schools and joint training centers in Cameroon.
La présentation au drapeau est également pour vous
Also, in front of the Divisional General, who chaired the event in the presence of the Senior Divisional Officer for the Noon Division. The officers and soldiers pledged to protect Cameroon's national colors and territorial boundaries. The cadet officers underwent a 2-year training, while the non-commissioned soldiers trained for 45 days. The ceremony was characterized by military parades at the top, Bataillon de Troupes Aéroportées de Koutaba.
And the Limbe Central Police Commissioner says the dilapidated nature of the police station leaves them handicapped in the effectiveness of their work as far as securing the city of Limbe is concerned. He was speaking to the mayor of the city of Limbe in his maiden visit to the security structure. We have details with a Limbe-based correspondent, Davison Maimo.
Là-dedans, c'est des toilettes. Et bon, sinon, de réutiliser ça. On peut réhabiliter ça. On peut réhabiliter.
Down there are toilet of detention cells begging for rehabilitation. The Limbe Central Police Commissioner Jean-Pierre Simon Yebe tells Limbe City Mayor Paul Efomengale in his maiden official visit to the Central Security Unit.
Since I took office, I have to be versed about certain issues of the town, and especially vis-a-vis the security of the citizens in Limbe and how secure they are.
The female cell is dark with an old bed and the toilet not functional. Same situation with the men's cell, which is without any bed. They say the toilet situation, time without number, has pushed police officers chasing criminals who tries to escape because they were released so as to empty the bucket used in the cell, posing not just a worrisome issue to the men and women in uniform, but also a health situation to the inmate.
He has talked about the toilet, he has talked about improving on the accommodation. I think I will use my office to see how we can improve on the situation here.
The Secretariat is a shadow of itself, lacking computers for data collection and more. Most of the patrol and intervention vehicles are broken, leaving the forces of law and order very vulnerable in the discharge of their duties. With all these challenges, the city mayor appreciated the Central Commission and the police in general in their endless endeavor in maintaining law and order in the city of Limbe. The commissioner pleaded for a partnership with the city council to rehabilitate and run the police restaurant.
We probably need a public-corporate partnership, which I would like to tell you that I'm very, very interested, which we also have to see what we can do about.
Though there are 3 district police stations and a central unit in Limbe, to curb the rising urban disorder and insecurity, the police say their unit needs to be furnished with the necessary equipment for the required result to be achieved.
You know, Limbe is always prided as one of the cleanest towns or cities in Cameroon, but the face of some of its public structures, like that of the Central Police Station where you've just watched, leaves nothing to envy of the city of Limbe. However, the police commissioner, head of the institution, believes that a partnership with the city of Limbe through the accord of the city mayor will leave the face, or will lift the face of the public structure. Now we're taking you international before sport to say that at least 22 persons have died and several others severely wounded in a car crash in Egypt's southern province. And in Cote d'Ivoire, the authorities have demanded Mali to release the 49 Ivorian soldiers arrested and detained in Mali. Should be recalled that they are facing, among others, charges that could eventually lead to a death sentence in the neighboring country, Mali. We have a roundup of international news with Mala Glory.
The crash took place in the early hours of Tuesday morning when a public transport vehicle hit a stopped trailer truck on a highway linking the capital of Cairo to the south of Egypt. 22 people died on the spot, while 33 injured persons were immediately rushed to the hospital. In Ivory Coast, the public authorities call on Mali to release the 49 Ivorian soldiers accused of being mercenaries seeking to destabilize the country. The soldiers, according to report, were arrested at Mali's main international airport. Preparations have heightened in Kenya for the 2022 general elections. The presidential candidates Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua says they are confident of winning the elections. They have as first objective to fight corruption. Meanwhile, the veteran opposition leader Odinga, after numerous unsuccessful attempts, this time has the support of the outgoing president Uhuru Kenyatta.
That was international news with Malak Glory. Now we talk sports to say that Senju Fechin is the new trainer of the under-23 national football team in Cameroon. The former Indomitable Lions trainer was appointed in a media release signed by the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o. The task awaiting the new technical bench of the under-23 squad of Cameroon, among others, is compiled in the following report. Smanji Kangebe is the signature of that sports report.
After a long wait, the Cameroon Football Federation has finally named the successor of Rigobert Song-Bahanak at the under-23 national football team. Guy Fortuné is the man that Samuel Eto'o has decided to give a chance. The former assistant coach of the Olympic team will have as the first challenge to put up a team for Cameroon that will participate at the Islamic Solidarity Games fixed for Konya in Turkey from the 9th to the 18th of August 2022. Cameroon is lodged in Group A of the tournament alongside Senegal, Turkey and Algeria. Apart from the Islamic Solidarity Games, which is the first major task for Guy Fortuné, another hurdle is that of qualifying the national under-23 team for the next African Nations Championship (CHAN), whose first round qualifying matches will be coming up in the month of September 2022. Cameroon is yet to win the trophy of the African Nations Championship. Bringing up a competitive team could enable Cameroon win the trophy when the competition starts in Algeria in January 2023. The first challenge is for them to qualify. Guy Fortuné will be assisted in his new role by Laurent Jam, Pierre Ebede as the goalkeepers coach, Dan Wang Dige, fitness coach, and Jaman Ba to serve in the position of the team manager. For now, the under-23 national football team is without a team press officer.
Good luck to Guy Fortuné and his team. Thanks, Manji Kangebe. You are ending this edition of news. We're not going to be having talking point today. We'll bring in talking point tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks. Still for Equinoxe. News in the French language, 8 p.m. Equinoxe from Yaoundé shortly after this.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.